friends, welcome to the Point. In this session, let's discuss about Africa-India relations. So, Africa-India relations, it refers to the historical, political, economic and cultural connections between India and the African continent. Historical relations concerned mainly India and East Africa. However, in modern days and with the expansion of diplomatic and commercial representations, India has now developed ties with most of the African nations. Trade between India and Africa it stood at $62.66 billion from 2017-18 financial year, making India the fourth largest trading partner of Africa. So, if we discuss about the past, about the historical background of Africa and India, they are separated by Indian Ocean, and the geographical proximity between the Horn of Africa and the Indian subcontinent, it has played an important role in the development of the relationship since ancient times. Now, let's discuss about the ancient trade relations between Africa and India. Indo-African relations, which date back to the Bronze Age period of the Indus Valley civilization. Pearl millet first domesticated in Africa, and it has been discovered from the site of Chanhu, and there is at least one burial of African women from the same site as well. It is thus postulated that Indus Valley maritime activities included journey to the Horn of Africa and bringing back African crops along with African diaspora to the Indus Valley, since pearl millet was cultivated in South Asia since 2nd millennium BC. But there is no such evidence from the Near East. Black peppercorns were found stuffed in the nostrils of Ramesses II, placed there as part of mummification rituals shortly after his death in 1213 BCE. So, in the 2nd century BC, the Greeks' accounts of Ptolemaic Egypt and its trade relations mention Indian ships making the trip, and Greeks began to utilize this knowledge from Indian sailors to conduct maritime activities in the Indian Ocean and conduct business with the Indians directly instead of relying on the middlemen. When Romans replaced the Greek administration in Egypt, this began a 400-year period of trade relations between the Roman Empire and India. Periplus marries Erythrae. This Periplus of the Erythraean Sea, which dates to mid-1st century, it refers to trade relations between the kingdom of Aksum and ancient India around the 1st millennium. So, helped by the monsoon winds, merchants traded cotton, glass beads, and other goods in exchange for gold and soft card ivory. The influence of the Indian architecture on the African kingdom, it shows the level of trade development between the two civilizations. Under Ptolemaic rule, ancient Egypt dispatched two trade delegations to India. The Greek Ptolemaic dynasty and India had developed bilateral trade using Red Sea and Indian ports, controlling the western and northern end of other trade routes to southern Arabia and India. So the Ptolemies had begun to exploit trading opportunities with India prior to the Roman involvement, but according to the historian called Strabo, he was a Greek geographer, philosopher, and historian who lived in Asia Minor during the transitional period of the Roman Republic into the Roman Empire. So, according to this historian, Strabo, the volume of commerce between India and Greece was not comparable, and that of later Indian Roman trade. So, the Periplus Maris Erythrae, it mentions a time when sea trade between India and Egypt did not involve direct sailings. So the cargo under this situation was shipped to Aden. So Aden, it is a city, and since 2015 the temporary capital of Yemen, near the eastern approach to the Red Sea. Udayman, Arabia, was called fortunate, being once a city when, because ships neither came from India to Egypt nor did those from Egypt dare to go further, but only came as far as this place. So it received the cargoes from both, just as Alexandria receives goods brought from outside and from Egypt. So the trade started by Eudoxus of Cyzicus in 130 BCE and kept increasing according to Strabo. At any rate, when Gallus was prefect of Egypt, I accompanied him and ascended the Nile as far as Syene and the frontiers of Kingdom of Axum, and I learned that as many as 120 vessels were sailing from Myos Hormuz to India. So, whereas formerly under the Ptolemies, only a very few ventured to undertake the voyage and to carry on traffic in Indian merchandise. In India, ports of Barbaricum, that is modern Karachi, Barigaza, Muziris, Korkai, and Kaveripatnam and Arikamedu on the southern tip of India were the main centers of this trade. The Periplus Maris Erythrae describes Greco-Roman merchants selling in Barbaricum thin clothing figured lines, chopus, coral, storax, frankincense, vessels of glass, silver, and gold plate in exchange for costus, gelium, lycium, nard, turquoise, lapis lazuli, cercic skins, cotton cloth, silk yarn, and indigo. So in Barigaza, they would buy wheat, rice, sesame oil, cotton, and cloth. So, with the establishment of Roman Egypt, the Romans took over and further developed the already existing trade. Roman trade with India it played an important role in further developing a Red Sea route. Starting around 100 BCE, a route from Roman Egypt to India was established, making use of the Red Sea to cross Arabian Sea directly to southern India. Traces of Indian influences are visible in Roman works of silver and ivory or in Egyptian cotton and silk fabrics. The Indian presence in Alexandria may have influenced the culture, but little is known about the manner of this influence. Clement of Alexandria mentions Buddha in his writing, and other Indian religious find mentions in other texts of the period. Blanche de Souza. He states that Hindus had by 1st millennium AD begun using monsoon-led trade winds to establish trading activities between western parts of India and Mozambique, linking this to eastern coastal regions of Africa and Arabian Peninsula. Medieval period relations. So relations attained stronger level during the medieval times due to the development of trade routes between the Mediterranean and Asia through Arabia. Zheng He, a Chinese admiral, met with Malindi envoy present in Bengal. The Malindi traders had brought tribute to giraffe for the Bengal Sultan, so they gave one of the Chinese as well. Indian Hindu traders were reportedly present, according to records of Vasco da Gama, in the southeast eastern African coast of Mozambique. The African heritage in India. Aside from aforementioned mentioned acoustic trade with India, the documented presence of Africans in India date back to 8th century CE. Several Africans played a role in different Indian dynasties. The first, Habshi, of whom there is a historical record, was probably Jamal al-Din Yakut, royal courtier in the kingdom of Delhi in the north of the subcontinent. Habshis were also reported in the interior of northern India. Ibn Battuta. He recalls that at Alapur the governor was Absian Barder, a man whose bravery passed into proverb, and some of the Africans who rose to positions of considerable importance were Malik Kafur, Malik Ambar, Malik Sarwar, Mubarak Shah, Ibrahim Shah, Malik Andil, Malik Sandal, Yakut Dubul Habsi, Ikhlas Khan, Dilawar Khan, and so on. So their role in the history of India is very significant, and the Africans who arrived in Hyderabad, Deccan, apart from playing their traditional role as bonded guards and servants, were recruited as the Nizam's private bodyguard. The Siddhi Risala. The Siddhi Risala is an African regiment and it was retained until 1948. And other Siddhis, they were elevated to the status of Kanazaks and became trusted advisors of the Nizams. Under the rule of British Empire, so during the British colonial rule in the Indian subcontinent and large parts of Africa, the Indian city of Mumbai was already at the center of ivory trade between East Africa and Britain. So the stay of Mahatma Gandhi in South Africa between 1893 and 1915, it remains one of the main events which paved the road to the modern day political relations. So this is a brief historical background about Africa and Indian relations. So in the next session, let's discuss about the modern day relations between India and Africa. Thank you.